Okay, so here we have an unboxing for Dungeon Universalis, and I have to start out with something that I don't usually start with, and that is the exterior box. This is a very, very heavy game, and it is put in a very inadequate box. You can see that it is just, I think that my guess is that this came from overseas in this box instead of being delivered on a pallet and to a distribution center. Like, this is literally, this piece of tape is holding the bottom on. This side is the same. Like, the whole way around now. Luckily, somehow my stuff didn't really get damaged. This is an expensive game and it is a heavy game. And there is some dunnage, but it was put on top. So this is rearranged. I took everything out because I had to see what the damage was. And these were all in the corners. There was no dunnage around them. Look at this. Like, this thing was ready. I was afraid to pick it up to put it on my table because it was about to fall apart. And all of these were pushed into the corners. Like, there's a little bit of damage on the edges of these little thin little boxes, but these aren't nice boxes anyway, so I'm not that concerned. This has one crushed corner, which I'll show you, but it's not a big deal. But it was through sheer luck, not because this was packed in a way that protected any of the stuff inside. Okay, so after my experience with League of Dungeoneers, where I sold that after putting about 30 hours into it, probably over the course of 2 weeks, just playing it like crazy. But I thought that once the rules got smoothed out in my head, and I didn't have to flip back and forth so much, that I would start to enjoy the game. And I really didn't. What I realized is that the complexity in the game was simply for the sake of simulationism, not for decision making. And like, there was a best course forward. So it was just kind of math for math's sake. And I almost sold this game without giving it a try. And I haven't tried it yet, but I also haven't sold it yet because I feared that it was going to be the same thing. But a viewer told me, and I've heard from some places, that this is different. And I read that the creator wanted to make a game that was like when RPGs were designed by wargamers. Now, a war game type of complexity where it's opening up tactical opportunities, strategic opportunities, that I'm more okay with. Will it infuriate me because it doesn't fit on my table, and will I end up selling it anyway? I don't know. And also, will all the crunch be worth it? Because this is supposed to be even, I think, more crunchy than League of Dungeoneers. I don't know, but I am willing to give it a try. It's here in all its glory. However, I am not going to open up anything that's sealed until I play the base game. So you will not be seeing this right now. If I really enjoy the base game, then you will definitely be seeing me unbox this. Otherwise, I'm going to sell these sealed. So I almost did a gameplay all in, is essentially what I did. I did a pick and choose, but like, I got everything except, say, I think there were a limited amount of miniatures that were on offer that maybe I'm afraid I'm conflating some things in my head, that maybe came with some adventures. And so those would be the adventures I didn't get. But I got the second pack of adventures. Each of these is supposed to be like 100 hours of gameplay. The only thing that I don't like is that currently the only way to do a random map or set up a map without knowing what's coming next, which I feel like is the crawling in dungeon crawling. I don't think you're crawling if you've laid out the map and you know the layout. You don't know how far. I feel like I need to not know how far along I am in it. I feel like I need to not know where the branching paths lead. Which one's going to be a dead end and which one's going to carry me on. We've discussed this before. There is an app And there is talk, because it's by far the most requested feature, of a card-based system, because that's one of the great things that League of Engineers had, was they had a simple card-based system which was similar to Warhammer Quest 95 for, I believe, for generating the dungeon. So anyway, here it's like 100 hours in the base box, 100 hours in each of these. So this would be like the second group, the second set of content, the second content, so the first content expansion. So the second batch of content here. Stuff is kind of sliding around in these, so I don't want to do too much. Okay, now this does have the Beastiary cards, so I actually am going to open this one. Okay, maybe I will show you that, guys, because the Beastiary cards means that you aren't having to flip through the book, and that's really essential for me. That's a game boardification that I really need, even if something's trying to be kind of RPG-y. I like some tables just fine. Monsters, I don't like as much. But this is the third one, and this one I will not be opening. It's got more Beastiary cards, and it's got the campaign in Quest Book 3. It's 160 plus hours of gameplay right there. So this is a lifestyle game if you end up loving it, and there are definitely people who love it and who make it their lifestyle game. You can find some playthroughs of huge amounts of content on YouTube. You will not see me doing that, because I will make so many mistakes that I just don't want people telling me about them. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside, but we are going to come back and open that. Here are some things that I can just kind of slide open for you. So I got tile set 1. I've heard that these are a little bit thinner than maybe, I think that they are similar to League of Engineers, maybe a little bit thinner. They're not up to game workshop style, but here's the thing. I don't have a good set of dungeon tiles. So that is one thing in this game's favor, is that it does provide you with a ton of stuff that you can use, especially because it's optional. They expect you that maybe you want to bring existing dungeon tiles. So it's made to just play on dungeon tiles that you have. So let's just take a look at some of this. This is very light. It feels like it's not like really permanent storage, but I mean, maybe it would work. It's not a standard game board at all. You can see it's cardstock. It's not cardboard, and this is made from folded cardstock. Yeah, these are pretty light, but I think I had heard that going in, so it's not a disappointment. Rob's Tabletop Gaming. I can't remember the channel name. You know Rob. he covered this and I believe did a little comparison. These are very nicely decorated, nicely painted tiles. So if I like the game, this will be and I don't have to sell these, then this will be a big, very nice addition to my collection, because I don't currently have a good set of generic dungeon tiles. Like Cursed City has great tiles, but they're huge. They're enormous. I need these 1-inch tiles. You can see they've got exterior areas as well. This game has a whole giant map. That's going to be one of the issues with me playing it, because it's expected that you're going to kind of stay on it. So I don't know if maybe I'll try to find a picture of it to print out and just like stick a pin in wherever I am at the moment. Yeah, I do like these. Very pretty. So League of Engineers has a key of things that can happen on certain rooms. Or it's got cards that tell you what can happen in certain rooms. And I do think that's cool. You're gonna see them, unless, I mean, they could always easily make expansions, or even fans could make expansions for such a thing very easily. So that's nice. These do have, so these are marked. So we could do, if I don't think that there are things that say what are on the tiles, but fans could do that. So that's tile set 1. Here's tile set 2. I think tile set 1 covers maybe for the first 2 sets of adventures, and this one covers the 3rd set. Not 100% sure. This one has mines, caverns, volcano, sewers, town, village, farm. So it sounds like this covers a lot of non-dungeon environments. Oh, and this one actually has a sticker holding it shut. I don't have my knife. I'll be back. Back with the trusty game opening knife, my Leatherman. So one thing that, if you've been keeping up with my videos, you may be thinking of, I didn't see Dungeon Universalis on that Games of the Year list. And you are correct if you're thinking that. So I had no idea what the shipment status of this was. I knew that these things were coming out kind of slowly. I also knew that they were getting damaged in transit, and so I was braced for receiving a damaged box. It is. I know that the creator is doing all of this himself. He had a bunch of trouble with fulfillment, like distributors, and he's losing money on the whole affair. And I definitely feel for that. I hope that this sets him up, because I think a lot of people are kind of getting into it now. I hope this sets him up for better luck with that in the future. But it's pretty rough. Both not knowing kind of the status of what's in transit, and also the way that the condition that things are arriving in. So you can see this is just another cardstock box. It is not intended. I don't know exactly what I'm going to keep these in, because this is not a permanent solution. Cardboard on these is pretty thin and flexible. That's okay. These are nice looking. Again, got some glowing fungus and gems down in a cave or a mine. The farm. So this will be cool for some non-dungeon. This thing is supposed to be able to basically provide you with the rule set to take any setting you want and do an RPG with it. It's supposed to be like an RPG to board game conversion set. I'm also a little bit worried in League of Engineers, the primary way to play is against the AI. In this, the primary way to play is one versus many. But some people are saying that it's not fun playing the dark player. It's not fun, and that they think that the best way to play is just with the AI dark player. So hopefully it is working well, because the general consensus before this started arriving in this most recent round was that get League of Engineers if you want to play it solo, and get this if you want to play with a group. Okay, then I got standees. I don't know if I should have. I don't know if I will use these. I've been finding fishing out standees to be really annoying. And so I don't know if I need this many standees. Here we have 318 standees. And here we have 288 standees. And it says that it covers a lot of the sorts of factions that are kind of lifted from different IPs, like unofficially. So that is cool. I'm not into pretty much anything fantasy except fantasy board games, so that doesn't help me that much. Okay, so once again, this first standee has a sliding tray, while the second has a tuck box. Sliding tray definitely seems to me like it has at least the potential to be reused. It would probably fall apart pretty quickly, but okay. So this has something I wasn't expecting, which is a bit of foam to keep it from slamming around. So that's nice. And I like these standees. They've all got a standard shape, and they are not two-sided, and they have text. They have text on one side, which you could use to determine, like, say that the text is on the back, and say that for facing purposes, if you want to use it in other games. But I guess facing doesn't matter in this game. I haven't read the rules, but it's kind of hard because these have backgrounds on them. It's a little bit hard to tell at a glance what they are. I have some nice acrylic tokens, and I may go more with those. That is a really cool shark. I really enjoy that. I mean, these are nice. I enjoy the art style. It's a little bit, to me, a little bit vintage looking, a little nostalgia inducing, and I think that fits with dungeon crawlers really well. I actually kind of like nostalgic art more than I like modern fantasy art. I always like an original style, but there's a more modern style of fantasy art that isn't necessarily original. And I kind of would prefer something that looks like it was from the 80s or early 90s more. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to use these standees. I'm not going to open the second box right now because it would require me to cut it, and even if I keep the game, I may not keep the standees because I've really discovered that I don't like fishing out standees. That's one good thing with the Warhammer Quest Cursed City. I made all of the tokens for it, and I keep them in this token box. They're all exactly the same size, so they just fit in a coin capsule box that's made to hold coin capsules. And so everything just fits nicely in alphabetical order, and it's very easy to pull stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at the game proper. Come on, Jeff. And like the worst, you wouldn't think that unboxing would be difficult, but I make unboxing videos look hard. Get it together, man. Get it together. Okay, so here we are. The main event. The main 1.3 edition. It doesn't have tiles. It doesn't have standees, but otherwise, it doesn't have Beastiary cards, but otherwise, it's got what you need. I mean, you don't need the Beastiary cards. You can use the books. So you'll see that this is like the only thing that got damaged in transit was this main box. It got pretty banged up corner. Didn't split. Even internally, and I was kind of surprised to see that. It didn't split. I'm going to have to, I keep it, I might tape it just to be careful because it is a little loose. It is bent there. Okay, so something burst. Got some baggies, thick plastic. Got a class or a character card. I like this. I like that it's not a full page that you have to like flip back and forth. Now this will take up more space than it looks because you've got your cards that are going around it. So I'm still not sure. I'm not sure how many I'm going to be able to fit on the table. My little dinky table. I do not know what these different decks are. I do not know what is exploded all over the box. That is always the part that I like least about sorting these games out, is figuring out when they've got so many cards, which are great for options. Now I think that the beasts use items like you do. I don't think that adds like anything for real. If you had skeletons and you had archer skeletons, I don't care if the regular skeletons use swords or axes. It doesn't add variety for me for that to change up and to have to track multiple things possibly in the same game. It doesn't add anything if it uses a bow or a crossbow for me. I do not feel the variety from that. They're too close. They just have a couple numbers different, and it makes me have to keep an extra card out. I suppose some people must feel the variety, or maybe nobody does. That was one thing that I did not like about League of Dungeoneers, was also having all the small cards along with the monster cards. I was fine with that for the character because the variety that you get with using it in the character is that you're just trying to min-max, right? Like, you're using it to upgrade slowly. But so these are treasure cards or what are loaded all over. Gemstone of Courage, Helm of the Goddess, Purifying Amulet, Speed Boots. So it looks like these are mostly magical. If it turns out that you use items in this game for the enemies, I will not be swapping them around. Will not have multiple. I will not be fighting a band of skeletons, and each skeleton has a different melee weapon that I have to try to keep track of and keep track of on the board, which is which. That's just simply not going to happen. I will choose one, and that will be that monster's weapon. Okay, wow. Okay, I'm gonna stop stacking these. Well, okay, I'm gonna stack these, and I'm gonna be quiet, and I'm gonna speed it up, so you guys don't have to sit through all this. Okay, there we go. We've got them sorted. These are various abilities, and these are treasures. This is like sweet, fearsome. I wonder if these are monsters. Poisonous. I would bet you. Brutal. Stupid. I don't think anybody invulnerable would ever choose stupid. So my guess is that these are monster. Either that or you don't get to select. You just get what you draw. Here we have dice. There's a custom die. I love custom die. Sometimes it's what keeps you from being able to just sell a rule set, and if that's the case, then I would say let's not do any custom die. But I don't think that's the case here. I think there's so much here you would not want to try to print this yourself. Nor do I necessarily want to look all this stuff up on tables and books. So with this level of lifestyle game implemented in this manner, so here we have okay, let's turn them over so that I can read them in English. Some card dividers. So that's really helpful. And also these images should help me know, what the cards are. I always enjoy that. Now, what will these go into? Because there is no organizer in the box. I do have some collectible cardboard boxes, but know that if you get this, that you will need to solve storage on your own. I think the camera's been creeping down because I didn't have it tightened. So I moved it. Seemed too low, whether or not it was creeping down or not. Okay, so I guess, I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit scared to open all these. Before we go through the cards, let's take a look at what's in here in book form. Okay, so first, rulebook, the basic rulebook. So this is like starter rules that you can learn if you want an easier intro into the game. My understanding is it's actually, what I've heard people say is that it's actually a very different way to play. So it almost seems like Like you could try the hard version first if this doesn't help, really actually doesn't help you learn the real game. You could try the hard version first, and if it's too much for you, you could fall back and then try the easy version. It's just what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Maybe it would help some people to start with this, but I don't know. I've got some experience with dungeon crawlers, so I'm hoping that, and role-playing games. I used to be big into Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition, Shadowrun, Rifts, a lot of Palladium games. Okay, so yeah, we've got your simplified rules here. I love this cover. This cover image is really dynamic and exciting. Okay, here we have the real rule book. It is a big boy. Wait, this is 2. Never mind, this is 3. Oh, and the full image stretching, wrapping around. Okay, so here's the full rule book. And this bad boy is 125 pages long. It does have is broken up with art, but it is a substantial rule book, I'm not going to lie. We have an index here, which is actually not an index, but a table of contents. So we have a table of contents here. There's some advanced rules. So it looks like you can kind of stop learning at and then there are some other game options. Maybe you'd want to review those. We can stop learning by about page 100. See what you think about it. And then, is there an actual index? No. I hope that there's a printable index because. Oh wait, there is one. Never mind. So here's the real index. Great. And that's very important in a game with this many rules, in my opinion. The Dungeon Universalis Beastiary. So I'm going to try to mess with this as little as possible. You see all these different factions. I think they're referred to as factions. So you've got Pulse Empire. That looks like a war nun. They must be religious. These are the human kingdoms. So you've got the kingdoms. Then you've got, so they match different. It looks like these would be like the Greeks, Grecians or Ares worshippers. Jupiter's son. So these are the Romans. And then you've got you've got the different species. Beastmen, devastators, demons, northern barbarians, giants and primevals, trolls and other great humanoids, aquatic animals and monsters. Got a lot of stuff in here. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to fight. Campaign and quest book. I guess I shouldn't show you. It's a nice wraparound cover. The covers on these are really great, and they've got a nice silky feel to them. Hopefully these hold up to being folded open. So you've got your, and they've got time markers up here, 75 to 90 minutes. Some of them are like 30 to 45. I'm assuming that there's some amount of leeway in what order that you do them in. I don't know. I'm sure that there are different levels of difficulty. We'll have to see that. Oh, and this is the map, but in a non-board version. So I might be like copying this and printing that out to use as my map, since it's kind of supposed to stay out on the table. Got your tokens, same board as the bestiary and the tiles, it feels like. Ooh, these are little thin little. Oh, these are card dividers. So these are dividers for your mini cards, which is awesome. Very happy to have those. Those will help a lot. I don't have any mini um, cardboard holders like organizers though. So I have to see how they. Oh, there's some more loose cards. Okay, let's. I'm gonna try to rein my impulses in, and I'm just gonna set these loose cards aside for the moment, and after filming, straighten them. Okay, so empty box. I'm definitely going to be reviewing this rule book. I'm very intrigued by the way that combat is described. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I've got a bunch of games that make tactical combat very easy, you know, and that have different styles. You know, 5 Leagues from the Borderland is fast and furious combat, like people like getting knocked out, no HB tracking, so people get knocked out real quick. You know, you've got a set for everything. So do I need this just for that? No. If I don't like the rest of it, there's no reason for me to keep this game just for the tactical combat, unless it's doing something very different. Okay, so here is the world map and also an ocean game board. I feel like I can just pretend that this is blue if necessary. But you could use this for a battle board, but I like neoprene so much better. And I know that that's not necessarily great, but I mean, I've got like I don't have a lot of neoprene mats. Like this one I use constantly. And it makes such a nice surface to put the games on, and the cardboard dust doesn't annoy me. Anyway, gosh, I'm finding a lot to say today. You guys are just so lucky. Okay, so here's the map. Unlike in League of Dungeoneers, since it's not a hex map, map of heck. There are a couple of maps of heck in 4AD in some of the boxes, or some of the books that I've got. Okay, so anyway, it's split up by region instead. A little, each one has a number and a lettered, so that you can look up stuff about it. I like that aspect. That'll make it much easier. Like I could just write down where I am and just keep a note of that. I like that if the map is not going to be the actual game surface, for it to not be a hex map. Like hex map is great. Hex map is great if you're going to be playing on it. If you're going to be moving on it and then having to set it aside or have 2 tables, I don't think a hex map is quite as great. Okay, you want to look at some of these cards? My goodness. This is getting to be quite an unboxing. Let's look at some of these cards. These are surprisingly light. I think the cardstock is kind of thin. Or else they're just not packed in here tightly. They've got air between them. So I guess with thin cardstock, the weight should be the same. These are thin, pretty thin though. So you've got some, it's like some different characters that maybe you can play with right out of the gate. And so these are some, and then you've got some blank ones. These maybe are for making, I don't know. Given that this is Sancho Panza, all of this is Don Quixote, I was going to say that maybe they are like assistants that you can get. Who knows? Okay. With dragon backs. So here are some Beastiary cards for, yeah, I don't know, some for animals, but there are some. There's Direwolf, Great Spider, Tree Giant. So let's take a look. You can see different stats, and then some equipment, and then skills and notes. Okay, so I don't know how that works with the other Beastiary cards. I suppose I'll find out when I read. Maybe. No, I'm sure. Okay, so here it looks like, okay, so here are some like encounter cards: ambush in the river, corpse, overturned cart. So don't want to spoil too many of these, but it looks like you are rolling or something to encounter some, and these are to be found at. If you look at, so these are the overland cards. These, there were symbols like this on the overland map. This castle, village, or road. It's cool. Sancho Panza again. It's got a little story. It's got some character traits, special object. Maybe these are NPCs. These are, I believe, some dark player cards. Well, those look like some big boss cards. Looks like here are some player aids. Special elements: crystal vein, orc brothel, dwarf tavern. I'm going to avoid that. Orc brothel, gelatinous cube, grasping roots. Okay, looks like some stuff that you might find in caves. Furniture, library, dining room, empty. There's no furniture in this section. So it looks like that's really cool. So you draw this, and then you find out what's in the room instead of the tile always having the same thing on it. I think that's a good idea, and I have a lot of 3D printed furniture. Like I've got bookshelves, I've got an alchemy table, I've got a well. Yeah, great. I love that. Sometimes, so, because that's a question of how do you, if the tiles are generic, how do you have stuff in the room to make it interesting, but not have the room be exactly the same every time? And that seems like a good method to me. Maybe I'm being impressed by something common. I don't know. Yeah, take a look at this. I'm having to lean way out because for whatever reason, the way that I've positioned the camera, I'm reaching like all the way out. These look like baddies to me. Wandering creature. Enemy spotted. Use this card as soon as character reveals a new unexplored section. So this is the dark player cards. And I don't know how this interacts with the electric shock with the AI dark player. I don't know if it uses the same cards. Once again, I guess I'll find that out by looking at the rules. So here are, I don't know if these are NPCs or if these are things, people you can recruit, or if these are players that you can play if you don't want to make it up using your own tab, because it's got everything on it already. Maybe these are some just pre-made characters for jumping in with, but you still want to level them up. Human sorcerer, goblin scout, elf forester. So you've got the species and then you've got the class. I love that image. Dwarf mercenary. So this is more of the same. Human mercenary. These are, I guess, are the more humanoid. Lots of different types of cards here. I do like the loose wrapping on these. I don't enjoy trying to get the really tight wrapping off. So you have to be so careful, or else you'll scrape it with your knife or your fingernail if you're trying to use the kind that peels on the side, you know? Okay. Looks like these are some more encounter cards. Yeah. So these are more encounters. Cloud of insects, will o' the wisps, cart. This is like a swamp. Got forest. Okay, cool. Okay, so here's some amphibians. So some minotaur, ogres, orcs, rat folk, reptilians, trolls. So these enemies have cards, have stats as complex as a player. Like, could you just play as one of these if you wanted to? Like, that'd be kind of neat. Um, anyway, there are good and bad sides to that. So these bestiary cards are kind of. I'm not sure if this first game comes with, maybe it did come with bestiary cards. Maybe I'm mistaken. So I'm not going to open up that second one. This is getting so long anyway. Okay, so an animist. So these are assassin, battle dancer, barbarian, bard, sorcerer, knight, witch hunter, scout. So these gladiator, forester, warrior. So these are the classes. Wow, this is just an abundance of classes. That's going to be so fun. Like, that excites me. I am getting pretty excited to try this out. More furniture. The question is, what's it gonna bump? It's gonna bump something big. If this is only on my table for a week, like, I'm giving it short shrift. Like, this is the sort of game. Either that or I'm gonna be playing it obsessively. Okay, so we got a little bit more furniture. Animism, tribal, changeling. So it looks like we've got some different types of magic. I think these are spell cards. Okay, they're all that. Wow, and yeah, now I'm remembering you learn a type of magic, like you specialize in a type, so you might be a water mage. I don't know if you can take up multiple types. Treacherous waters, water elemental, water of life, ice wall. That's cool. Animism, breathe life. The art on these is great. It's small, but it's really evocative. Tough skin, reveal environment, smell enemies. Look at the I really love it. It reminds me of in Magic the Gathering when you'd be going through and you'd have the art from the different artists. I mean, obviously, it can be nice to have a unified uh, one artist, but with this much art, that'd be quite a big ask. And it does make me feel nostalgic to see art from a bunch of different artists on cards, just because I used to play Magic the Gathering back from Magic the Gathering 3rd edition to 4th edition, and with the expansions that were between those. Okay, so these are some dark. What are these? Aquatic creature, large, huge creature, battle sorcerer. Okay, so these melee fighter. I think these are how the AI or how a dark player plays the different creatures. What is that? Alchemist. So I think that the map, maybe the different places in town have different businesses. I don't know if they're all available at each, but you can visit the Alchemist, and this tells you what services they have and what they have for sale. Library, camp, kennel, and breeding ground. Very nice. Um, Definitely keep those in alphabetical order. I don't know if those needed to be broken out that way or if they would have been fine as tables in a book. I do like cards. Same art as the cover. Points. So this looks like another player aid. Maybe for the dark player. Curse. Pick a random hero from those on the group. So these are some dark player cards. I think dark player when they're playing on the map, I guess. Here's some dark player in general. Okay. Put all these together. think that these are just what a player in one versus many would use. Okay, not much left now. I say that I like this loose wrapping, but then again, I guess that's also probably the reason the one exploded. That and there's just a bunch of heavy stuff in this box. Okay, we got treasure, runic broadsword, staff of wisdom, demon slayer broadsword. So this is definitely magic treasure. Shuriken, handgun, javelin. These all have little pieces of art on them, which is nice. I see. Yeah, so these are your ranged weapons. These are your melee weapons. Gladiator scissors. Topesh sword. I don't know how to pronounce that. Serrated sword. So, a lot of stuff here. When I was a kid, I definitely wanted the most possible weapons in an RPG, you know. I feel like I'll just mostly be looking at the stats on those now. And I guess abilities, if there are any. Shields. Elven shield, dwarf steel shield. I guess an armor. Yep, leather armor, chainmail. So it shows who takes a penalty from wearing it. Okay, yeah, that's it. So this is really interesting. I don't know that it was interesting for you, but I'm going to be playing the game, so it was interesting for me to see everything that's in here. I don't know that I'll be learning this next because I feel like I really need to think ahead about that, about how much time I have to dedicate to it. Maybe I will learn it next. We'll see. Anyway, that's it from me. Hope that you enjoyed this unboxing of Dungeon Universalis. And have a great rest of your day. Keep playing solo.